Understanding obligations, a comprehensive guide. What is an obligation? An obligation refers to a binding agreement or responsibility that a party is required to uphold, usually articulated within the framework of a contract. When an obligation is unfulfilled, the legal system often provides recourse options for the injured party, ensuring that responsibilities are taken seriously. Key takeaways. Nature of obligations. Obligations often manifest as contractual responsibilities, such as a mortgage or an auto loan. Financial implications. The financial obligation ratio, released by the Federal Reserve serves as a benchmark for household budgeting. Consequences of non-compliance. Failing to meet obligations can lead to penalties, including imprisonment or financial fines. Assessment ratios. Debt, liquidity, and solvency ratios help evaluate a firm's capacity to meet its debt obligations. The importance of obligations. Obligations are foundational to the functioning of societies and economies. The trust that individuals and businesses will adhere to mutually agreed contracts breeds stability and fosters economic relationships. Entities across the spectrum, from individuals to corporations and governments, must regularly fulfill their obligations to avoid penalties. Financial obligations explained. Financial obligations encompass any existing debts or scheduled payments that a party is required to fulfill. For instance, if you owe money to any entity, it constitutes a financial obligation. These obligations take many forms, including money, legal tender issued by the government, which obligates entities to accept it in exchange for goods and services. Loans and mortgages, written agreements outlining the payment responsibilities that create a creditor-debtor relationship. Both personal and business domains are filled with various obligations that significantly impact financial health and planning. Obligations and personal finance. When managing personal finance, obligations should be prioritized in budgeting efforts. Understanding one's financial obligations allows individuals to maintain control over their finances and plan for their future effectively. The financial obligation ratio, issued quarterly by the Federal Reserve, is a crucial metric that compares household debt payments to disposable income, aiding in the formulation of realistic budgets. Long-term financial planning. Long-term financial obligations, such as mortgage interest rates, retirement funds, and healthcare costs, require careful consideration. A well-structured budget that incorporates these long-term obligations is essential for successful financial planning. For instance, understanding how future expenses will impact daily finances can help individuals allocate resources effectively and ensure they meet their obligations over time. Obligation versus rights. In financial trading, the concept of obligation varies significantly. For instance, options trading, a call option gives the buyer the right, but not the obligation, to purchase an asset at a set price within a designated timeframe. This flexibility differentiates options from traditional stock purchases. Futures contracts, in contrast, these contracts impose both the right and the obligation to either deliver or receive the underlying asset at the contract's expiration. Understanding this distinction is critical for investors navigating complex financial instruments. Real-life examples of obligations. The repercussions of failing to meet obligations can vary widely based on the nature of the contract. Some common examples include auto loans. Non-payment may lead to repossession of the vehicle. Taxes. Failure to pay taxes can result in hefty fines or even imprisonment. Bankruptcy. When companies are unable to fulfill their obligations, they may declare bankruptcy, which helps them reorganize their debts while allowing creditors to recover losses. Obligations are not exclusive to financial facets, they extend into various areas of life, such as politicians' duties to represent their constituents faithfully. Special cases of obligations. Collateralized debt obligations, CDOs. A collateralized debt obligation, CDO, is a sophisticated financial product backed by a pool of loans and assets. These securities are then sold to institutional investors. CDOs received widespread attention for their significant role in the financial crisis of 2007, as the underlying assets often contained risky mortgages. Measuring a firm's ability to meet obligations. To assess a firm's capability to manage its debt obligations, several financial ratios are utilized, including debt ratio. This ratio analyzes the total debt in comparison to total assets, indicating the likelihood of meeting obligations. Liquidity ratios. These ratios measure the ability of a company to cover short-term liabilities with its short-term assets. Solvency ratios. These provide insights into a company's ability to meet long-term obligations. Federal government obligations to states. The federal government also holds certain obligations toward individual states, which include guaranteeing a republican form of government, protecting states from external invasions, assisting states with domestic disturbances upon request from state leadership. Conclusion. Obligations play an integral role in various facets of life, particularly in economic and financial contexts. Whether it's adhering to personal financial responsibilities or navigating complex business agreements, understanding the nuances of obligations can not only help individuals and entities fulfill their commitments but also contribute to a more stable economic environment. Recognizing the significance of obligations empowers individuals and organizations alike to manage their resources more effectively, plan for the future, and maintain trust in their contractual relationships.